Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Thrive Yoga Fit Transformational Coaching. This is Erin, and it has been about a month since I have been behind this microphone. I've been running amok in Japan, and then right after we got done leading the retreat in Japan, which it went amazing. We took some amazing people, Luis and Miriam, Lorraine, Kyle, Hunter, Caius, and then of course Priya and Karit were there to help, and we had a blast. We visited sacred sites and temples. We went to kabuki fusion shows. We saw beautiful nature. We went on bullet trains. We ate the sushi. We ate the tempura. We ate the ramen. So we had a great time. And then I got to kick it with some of my friends from Shenandoah University, Takuma Wada, and Hiroko. So yeah, it was a good time. And afterwards, I came back for a few days, and then I went out to Arizona to support my good friend Kuhat and his girlfriend Alina, and for the celebration of life of his son Kai. And I was so happy to be there and support him. And he has been one of my biggest supporters from the get-go. And he is taking this time in his life, which is probably the worst thing that could happen to anyone, and he is taking that energy and charging it into something beautiful for his community. So it was an honor to be out there with him as well as his friend Ipa. And yeah, it was a good time. I got to hang out with some drummers and do some kirtan and cold plunges, which I screamed, but I was proud of myself because I did like 5 or 6 minutes, and I led a workshop, and so it was a really nice time. So today I am talking about guru and ego and sort of prophecy dream that I had, and I'm going to tie this into a spiritual lesson. Before I get started too much, I do want to let you know that I have an Activate Your Inner Healer retreat. We have 4 spots left, and that's in January 16th to the 20th. So if you want to learn how to bring your prefrontal cortex and limbic system online together, muscle test, be able to release subconscious belief systems from your tissues, from your body, change your life, and also heal your body, but essentially activate your inner healer. So this retreat is for people who have some experience in the healing field. Maybe you've been on your own path for a while. Maybe you even work with people. This retreat is for you. It's going to level up your skills. It's going to help you to release blocks that you have to being successful. And so I invite you to come. We had, again, 4 spots left. So you can reach out to me, Erin at erincoach.com. You can check out thriveyogafit.com, and you can sign up there as well. Cool. All right. So last night, Kyle and I went to this ashram. It was near Clearwater, and it's called Divine Bliss International. So we had checked it out a few days prior. He had arranged a date that we went on, and right up my alley, we went to a temple. So I was like, oh, cool, what a great date. So we wound up meeting one of the devotees, and, shaved head, orange robes, the whole get up, and more papayas than anyone could possibly eat in an entire lifetime in the backyard. So we went in, we saw the place, we sat down, meditated, and then she invited us back for a satsang that was happening on Wednesday. So, I was like, all right, well, this is cool, this is different. He seemed interested. So I was like, all right, like, let's check it out. So we went and we met the guru, and it was if a satsang, if you're not quite sure what that is, it's usually a format where there's a guru, there's some topics, and there's a series of questioning that happens. And so she was following this format in her own way. And one thing I noticed right away was how much the students revered her, how much they loved her. They were giving like baskets of fruit and flowers and touching her feet and, chanting and praying to her, lighting candles. So, I was involved in that, and it was very sort of Indian style, sort of touching the feet, pranam to the guru, which I'm familiar with from my travels and from my studies in yoga. So I went and I paid her respect and reverence. And it was, when we got started, again, lots of love in the room, even some humor sprinkled in, which spirituality requires levity, of course it does. There were some monks there that had been fasting for almost 75 days. And one gal, I think she said her weight started at 135 and she was down to like 112. I mean, crazy. So just what people will put themselves through, but it was also in um, spirit of manifesting a new location, I guess, that has 1,000 acres, but also in releasing attachment to food, releasing attachment to the desires of the body, which seems a bit extreme, but there's other ways that we can do that in our lives. For example, as a coach, when I've worked with people who have had binge eating disorder, or even just trying to reel it in a little bit, setting a timer if you have the impulse to grab a snack when you're not hungry, sitting with that 10 minutes and just like getting curious about what feelings are underneath that, so that you can know, oh, that's the reason I'm taking that impulse. That's the reason why I'm reaching for the thing, food or drugs or alcohol or whatever it is. It applies to many different things. So sitting with the feeling and then compassionately being able to process it. So this was sort of that, but very extreme. So it's not for everybody. It's not recommended necessarily. But one thing that really stood out to me was, so there was the monks that were doing that, and then there were some people in the crowd and the devotees, and then just people that would attend and seem to also have love and reverence for this guru. And they were saying how this guru had changed their life, and how they would never have reached their goals, and how, overnight they became vegetarian and all this. So it definitely caught my attention, though I am skeptical. I'm not just, okay, like just trust the process. And maybe that's like my Achilles heel or something, but there is too much of like sort of guru power that would take advantage of someone that's just like, okay, tell me whatever to do. You need to have your agency about you. You need to ask questions, and you need to check in with yourself and see if that feels true and right for you and not harmful. So I'm always kind of like, my little antenna went up, but I was sitting there. I have my own agency about me. I've been doing a lot of this for a long time. So we went into lines of questioning, and she asked at a certain point, what is the meaning of life? And nobody was shooting their hand up. So I was like, put my hand up, and she called upon me. I said, the purpose or meaning of life for me is to love, she's like, well, what do you mean love? It's like to love as hard and as deep as you can, to love yourself and hidden parts of yourself. And then she started in with a sort of rapid fire, like boom, 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 like different questions to ask me, to kind of like peel back and maybe kind of like determine where I was at in my spiritual journey. So 5 questions in, boom, boom, boom. She seemed to like my answers. She was saying that is textbook answers. And I was like, okay. I mean, I've read a lot of spiritual scripture, but most of it's from application in my own life. And she gave some different answers, which I agree with. Some of it, other parts I would question. For example, her definition of love was to be like completely self-sacrificing, just like give up everything and just be in service, to like devoted to one person to the point where like your body withers away. And so I get that. And that's sort of like a Christ compassion, is sort of like Jesus on the cross, like, just like completely surrendering everything for like such great love. Like that is a certain kind of love. And it's beautiful. I think that unchecked or not unpacked can be a little dangerous for people that don't fully understand what that means or have not reached that level. And then I also, like, some questions kicked in, like, what about a tantric philosophy, as far as like, love your body, and then also honor the other people? Like, why does it have to be like I'm falling apart? Because then it's like, if I'm not healthy, how can I be of service to others? So like that sort of questioning kicked in. And she was like kind of drilling me, and I was asking questions and giving back. So I didn't push too much because it was my first time. And other people chimed in. And so 2-hour lecture turned into 4. And by the end, not that I would mind sitting for a 4-hour lecture. I've done 10 days of silent meditation where I sit for 13 hours a day. But if it's unexpected and you didn't drink enough water, you didn't bring enough cushions, and you happen to have a crazy workout the day before where your body's sore, you might feel a little irritated like I did. So I felt kind of irritated, to be perfectly honest. So towards the end, it went way over what we were told it was going to be. So I went out in the hallway and I was kind of like stretching my body. I was like, oh, I feel so much better. So anyways, we went home. I went to sleep, and I had this dream. And in the dream, I was back in the temple. and this guru was asking me questions. And in the questions, it was almost like I was sort of like martial arts saying, like I was like using all my skills, like Kalari Payattu and Shotokan Karate, and maybe some roller derby and yoga. And then it was almost like a little standoff, like she came in front of me and everything stopped. She said, "What is your name?" And in the dream, there was a pause, and I opened up my mouth to go, and then I woke up. So, talk about epic sort of spiritual prophecies type of stuff. So, I don't know if I'm unpacking this in this podcast. I've discussed it with a couple of close friends, like my friend Kelly, my friend Kuhat. And I made a public post on socials about it because I thought it was big enough to, not just in my world, but into other people's worlds, maybe get them to question things. But this is where the ego comes in. So I recently moved to St. Pete, so I'm a St. Petonian. And, I am a small fish in a big pond, whereas in Bradenton, I'm probably a bigger fish in a small pond. And so I have definitely noticed like my ego kicking up sometimes. Like, for example, I went to a yoga class that wasn't really a yoga class, but it was inspired from Bikram. So it's very like drill sergeant-y, which I don't typically like, but the title of the class is called Shape Shifting. It intrigued me, and I'm taking a break from Kalari Payattu right now because my left knee was starting to bother me. So I was looking for something to challenge me, to, channel my fire, to also like strengthen my body in a different way. And so I chose this class, and they were just giving orders and they weren't explaining anything. It was so different from what I'd learned as far as alignment and plugging things in and having like a balance to the body. And so I questioned, and I found myself like they were getting irritated that I was questioning. I was getting irritated that they were irritated that I was questioning, because I feel like in yoga or in spiritual arts and in fitness, like you should be able to ask questions, and they weren't explaining anything. So, anyways, I wound up like she wound up pausing the class. It was like a whole thing. I could tell she was highly irritated with me. And then at the end of class, I was irritated because it was also like a hot class, and I get irritated in hot classes. So, but I've had this thing come up lately where it's like this voice, and it's not flattering. It's a little obnoxious, and it's like, don't you know who I am? Like, I am Erin Gary. Like, for most people in the world, it's like, who cares? Like, nobody knows who you are. And the guru last night was talking about, she's like, after a year, people will forget you. And I know that's true. Not that I've forgotten my mother, but my mother passed away in 2021. And for the first year, I still have her ashes on my altar, and I still do like little ceremony and connect with her, but it is becoming like less frequently. And I do have, I do it a couple of times a year now, but for a while it was like every day. I was always thinking about her. And then there's people from my past. It's like, oh my gosh, how am I ever going to get over this? I can't think, keep thinking about them. And now it's like less and less and less. So I know that, what she was saying is true. And the thing is that the ego doesn't like that so much, because we have this whole little universe built up in our head. And for me, my studio, Thrive Yoga and Fitness, I've started it from the ground up. I've been here 11 years. I'm like the little mayor of Thrive. I walk around, like the mayor of Springfield, except for probably like less drunk and less prostitutes. Just that's a joke. Um, but everybody knows my name. I know everybody else's name. And, there's sort of like a reverence and affection. And, going somewhere where people don't know me, I don't necessarily have that right off the bat. And it's not even about like the fame and whatnot, like not to say that I'm famous or anything, but it's more of like being seen and understood, like people knowing what I'm about. And for some reason, that bothers me if people don't know who I am and what I'm about. And I'm like questioning, like, why does that bother me? Why does that bother me? And so I think that dream it's sort of like reflective of like my ego. And what is your name? So like, who are you? I've moved to a new place. I've had a really huge year. I am consolidating the different skill sets I have to do more just like coaching. And because of that, like there's certain aspects of me that are going to die and or be integrated in a different way. So parts like certain roles, certain identities I have to let go of to create space for this new era of Erin to come out. And what I was just explaining in my body rolling class is the ego likes to grip to the familiar, sort of like this version of ourselves that's been presented and cultivated and like years and years of work put in. It's like a business, like, oh gosh, I put so many years of work into this business. And then you can like hold on to it for so long that it actually starts to kind of hurt you and it prevents your growth. And identities can do this too. Like I used to be highly identified with the martial arts girl, like the angry punk rock martial arts person. And I was so closely identified to that it really limited me, where there was things that I was interested in, maybe like spirituality and stuff, but I was like, no, it's sissy stuff. And so I blocked myself from learning that stuff because it didn't fit my identity at the time. And so I'm going through a period where I am reinventing myself. I'm mostly excited about that. There is like that little girl inside that's like, but they don't know who I am, and maybe they won't love me, and maybe they won't accept me. And what I've been becoming aware of too is this need for me to make sure that I am accepted, I am loved, and that I am like understood. And if I'm not sure of that, it almost feels unsafe, which is not great. And this has to do like this all ties into abandonment moon stuff. And this is like if you've been following my podcast, this has been my huge overall lesson for the year is the abandonment moon. So I've been taking those opportunities when I feel that like impulse. Now sometimes it comes out like last night I was talking with a friend and I'm going to be in his camp for Love Burn, and he said something like, it sounded like he was like asking me or explaining what a Dharma talk was, and immediately like the impulse just, I was like, did you know that I do podcasts and do you know who I am? And I was like, well, zip it, Erin. Like, no, nobody needs to, like, not everybody needs to know your freaking resume. Like, this person knows who I am. And he's like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Like, I didn't mean it to come off that way. And it just made me pause. And I'm like, there it is again. Like, there's my ego coming up. Like, don't you know who I am? Like, burr, burr, burr. Like, so it's obnoxious. It's not flattering, but I guess I'm, aware enough at the very least to say, yeah, that's obnoxious and unflattering. And like, I'm working on it. And this question of like, what is your name? What is your name? And take it in different directions. Like, who is this new version of you? What do you want your name to be? Who do you want to be? Like, what is your new company title? For example, last week, I had this epiphany during a ceremony that I'm going to change up the name of my coaching to be shamanic coaching because that's more of what I do. That is me incorporating the almost 20 years of bodywork skills and being able to notice subtleties in the body and facial analysis, being able to read different deficiencies in the face and the eyes and like hormone fluctuations and then being able to access subconscious with people and be able to see like their blocks and then of course like combining that with like breathing techniques, like, okay, I can see it, like let's bring it to the surface, let's compassionately look at it, and then let's see if we can rewrite the program. So I am in this phase of reinventing myself. So what is my name? I don't know. And actually funny, the name of this podcast might be changing. The name of my brand might be changing. Maybe my name is going to change. I don't know. Maybe I'll come up with a cool spiritual name. So my festival name is Shakti or Shakti Ma, which, I kind of like the ring of that, and I get tingles up my spine when I say that. So maybe my new name will be Shakti or Shakti Ma. We shall see. But it's interesting, and it sort of tickles the curious part of me, which I give credit to my spiritual practices. But it does, there is a slight discomfort or a slight clinging to ego and familiar, which is part of the kleshas abhinivesha, which is a clinging to what is familiar, resisting change, and of course, like fear of death. But is it fear of like the big death, or is it fear of like death of certain parts of you or integrations of different parts of you? That is the question. So I thought I would share that with you. So this particular guru, another just kind of like little funny thing is 20 minutes into the lecture, she started like falling asleep. And she's 65 years old. It's like late at night, right? I mean, it's late for me. Like I was like nearly falling asleep, but I thought it was really funny because there were people who were like internationally zooming in. Like there wasn't like hundreds of people, but there was maybe like 30 people. And then there was like about 10 of us in the room. And we're asking her questions. And here she is just like, I couldn't help but like, I had to like stifle my laugh. I was like, and I was like kind of nudging Kyle, like, she's asleep. And I just thought of myself as like presenting, like if I was recording this podcast and I just sort of started like snoozing, I just thought it was really funny. And one of her devotees went over and started massaging her foot, and then big smile across her face. And then she started to come to life, especially when she started asking that question, what is the meaning of life? So I think I'm going to go back. I'm going to check it out. And mostly because of what her devotees have said, as far as like, oh my gosh, you changed my life. And, you know, I wouldn't have been able to do this without you. And there was one particular monk who was doing like the 75-day fast. And the other people in the audience asked for the monks to kind of speak up, like, what has your experience been with this fasting? And the gal said, she's like, straight up, I would not have been able to do this on my own. Like, there's no way in a million years I'd be able to fast like this. She's like, it is the power of her that I'm integrating and pulling from, and she is assisting me. And so I thought, there are definitely conduits for that God spirit. I am cautious of people that like abuse that power, that are too like inflated ego about it. So I don't think that that's her. I don't think that she is abusing her power or anything. I think that everyone like just sincerely loves and reveres her because of her giving nature. So I'm going to give it another whirl. So maybe I'll do an updated podcast about how I joined a cult and my head will be shaved. I don't know. Or maybe my name will be different. Who knows? So some homework for you is to ask yourself, like, you know, what is my name? Like, who am I? What is this version of me that is coming to the surface? And can I consciously pause, like how my dream was like cut off, like to be continued, and then choose this version of yourself that you want and notice any ego gripping that comes up. If you're like, no, well, how can I be that? Even though that brings me joy because I'm all these other things. Question it. Get curious. Look at it with compassion. Use viveka and vitarka. Viveka is your discernment. Vitarka is your reasoning from a compassionate space with the nurturing lens of your heart. So if you can do that, I'd be curious to know what comes up for you. And you can feel free to reach out to me, Erin@erincoach.com, if this podcast impacted you. And again, we have a retreat to Thailand coming up in November of next year. If you're interested in that, you can get on our list. Email me, Erin@erincoach.com, or you can check out thriveyogafit.com. If you're interested in the Activate Your Inner Healer retreat, you can check that out on our website again, thriveyogafit.com. You can always reach out to me, Erin@erincoach. And that's it for today. Namaste.